Good afternoon, everyone present here. I am Divya and my friends of class 9th and 10th are here to participate in a panel discussion as a part of Constitution Day. Now let me introduce them to you all. Explanation of Preamble by Diya, Historical Background of Indian Constitution by Pragya, Key Features of Indian Constitution by Sanjana, Importance of Articles and Schedules by Sarvatra, Importance of Rights and Duties of Constitution by Sri Tej, Directive Principles of State Policies by Kartika, Levels of the Government by Gautam, Organs of the Government by Preetham. As you all know, India is the world's largest democracy. To run such a big nation, we need a proper constitution. A constitution is defined as a set of written rules that are accepted by all the people living together in a country. Every year in India, 26 November is observed as Constitution Day, also called as National Law Day, to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution. My friends will give more information about this Constitution, but now I would like to speak about the preamble of our Indian Constitution. The preamble is the introduction of the Constitution. It presents the intention of its framers, the history behind its creation, the core values, the principles and objectives of the nation. Now I would like to read the preamble of our Indian Constitution. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote them all. Fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, to hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Now, let us understand the key words of the preamble from Diya.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. So let me now elaborate about the preamble. The key words of the preamble of Indian Constitution are sovereign. This word implies that India is neither a dependence nor a domination of any other nation, but it is an independent country. No foreign power has the power to impose its will on the Indian government. Socialist. The word socialist was added in the preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. It says that it is the responsibility of the state to ensure the welfare of the citizens, elimination of discrimination, equitable distribution of wealth, and justice for all. Secular. The Indian Constitution embodies the positive notion of secularism. That means that all the religions in our country, regardless of their strength, must enjoy the same status and support from the government. Democracy. The preamble resolves India to be a democratic country. That means that the supreme power of the nation lies within the people of the citizens. Republic. The word republic denotes that the head of the country is either elected and is not a hereditary or hierarchical monarch. The people are given the power to choose their representatives. Justice. The term justice means that the rule of law, absence of arbitrariness, and also a system of equal rights, freedom, and opportunities for all in a country. India seeks social, economic, and political justice to ensure the equality of all the citizens in our country. Liberty. The idea of liberty refers to the freedom of activities of individuals such as freedom from slavery, serfdom, despotism, etc. Equality. The preamble resolves India to be equal for all the citizens of the country. All the citizens have access to public spaces and titles of honor have been abolished. Also, the most important of all, untouchability has been eliminated from our country. Fraternity. This refers to a sense of brotherhood or a sense of belonging to the country. Fraternity, according to the preamble, must ensure two things, which are human dignity and national unity and integrity.
Diya, will the preamble of all the countries be same?
A good question, Pragya, but all the preambles of constitutions differ from country to country. For example, let me read out the preamble of the Constitution of United States of America. The preamble of United States of American Constitution states that we, the people of United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I hope this clarifies your question, Pragya.
Yes, dear.
Thank you.
That was a clear explanation about the preamble of our Indian Constitution. Now let us know about the historical background of our Indian Constitution.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us know about the history of our Constitution. The history of our Constitution is very insightful as it explains how it exactly came into being. It has its roots from the earliest cultures of India, as the creator took its essence from the Buddhism of India and the other cultures as well, from the American, British, and the Japanese constitutions. It also explains why India chose the parliamentary form of democracy in its modern form. The British came into India in 17th century initially for trading. Eventually, after slowly gaining some more power, they attained the right to collect revenue and to govern themselves. To do this, they enacted several rules, laws and regulations. According to the Charter Act of 1833, the Governor General of Bengal became the Governor General of India. Does anyone know who was the Governor General of Bengal back then? Let me tell you. It was Nawab Bahadur Abdul Latif. It also created the central legislature, which in a way made the British supreme rulers of India. The company's rule finally ended with the Government of India Act of 1858. As a result, the British supreme rulers became the ruler of India and governed India through its government. The Indian Council Acts of 1861, 1892 and 1909 started giving representation to Indians in the Viceroy's councils. It also created the decentralization of powers between the center and the provinces.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Pragya. I would like to add a few points about decentralization. So, decentralization is a form of an organizational structure which there is a delegation of authority from the top management to the middle and lower management. In simple word, it means distribution of power from the central authority to the regional and local authority. So, what is the importance of decentralization? The basic idea of decentralization is that there are many problems and issues which are best solved at local level. So when there is power for the local government, all these problems could be resolved. And also, decentralization has made many women to become representatives. And due to decentralization, many disputes regarding power sharing is resolved.
Thank you, Preetham. Now let me continue with the acts of the Constitution. Does anyone know what are the acts of Indian Constitution?
Yeah, Pragya, I have a little idea about the Government of India Act of 1919.
Yes, Divya, I was about to tell about it. The Government of India Act 1919. According to this act, the central legislative councils came into existence in all the provinces. It also adopted the bicameral structure with separate central and the provincial governments. This was also the first time when Indian could get right to elect their representatives through direct elections. The Government of India Act of 1935. The enactment of this law was the most important event in the history of our Indian Constitution. Firstly, this law divided the powers into various lists, a federal list, a provisional list and a concurrent list. Secondly, this act established the federal court, now which we refer to as the Supreme Court of India.
Sorry to interrupt, Pragya. Can you give brief explanation of 1935 Act?
Sure, Sarvatra. The Government of India Act of 1935 was an act adopted from the United Kingdom Parliament, and it was the longest act until the Greater London Authority Act of 1999 surpassed it. Because of its length, it was retroactively split by the Government of India into two separate parts. The Government of India Act of 1935 and Government of Burma Act of 1935. This act led to the separation of Burma from India, establishment of Federal Reserve Bank of India, establishment of Federal Public Service Commission and Provisional Public Service Commission, and created the Federal Code in 1937 and bicameralism in 6 provinces out of 11 provinces. This act was mainly the British gave the Indian to form the democratic form of government, but the government should be under the supervision of the Viceroy. Hope your doubt is cleared, Sarvatra. Now let me continue with the Indian Independence Act of 1947. This act marks the final step in the departure of British from India. The India became the truly democratic and independent country after this act. This act established the assemblies at the central and the provisional levels. It also laid down the foundation of Constituent Assembly.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pragya. Can you explain about the Constituent Assembly as you just mentioned about it?
Sure, Divya. Constituent Assembly played a very important role in making and drafting of the Constitution. The Constituent Assembly is a body of representatives whom we elect to create or change the country's constitution. The members of the Provisional Assembly indirectly elected the members of the Constituent Assembly. This assembly first served as the first served as the Parliament of Independent India and first met on 9th of December 1946 in Delhi. After independence, this assembly elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as its chairman and started the drafting of the constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Indian constitutions. He played a very important role in making of the constitution. Therefore, he is called as father of the Indian constitution. After more than 2 years of deliberations, the assembly finally approved the constitution on 26th of January 1950. This is why we celebrate Republic Day as on this day. And the assembly finally approved the constitution and it came into force on 26th of January 1950. Therefore, we celebrate this day as Republic Day. Thank you.
Okay, we got to know the long story behind the making of the constitution. Now let us know about the key features of Indian constitution.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Indian Constitution contained with the identification of being unique as its contents and provided spirits. According to the fundamental idealism of the Constitution, it has been divided into several key features. These key features are of the Indian Constitution to be highlighted and distinguished from that of the constitutions. Can anyone know why these key features have been addressed into the Indian Constitution? Alright, so the key features have been addressed into the Indian Constitution for the better accessibility and clarification of the government and the country. The Constitution of the country, the Indian Constitution not only contains the key fundamental principles of government, but also the detailed administrative provisions. Though borrowed from other countries, but our Indian Constitution has its own identification and its own original key features.
Sorry to interrupt you, Sanjana. As you said, few features in the Indian constitution are borrowed from other countries. Can you name such inspired features?
Sure, Divya, and that's a good question too. So we have adopted fraternity, equality, liberty from French Constitution, judicial system from Australian Constitution, Irish. We have adopted directive principles from Irish Constitution, fundamental rights from American Constitution, and 5-year plan period from Russian Constitution, and many others.
Thank you, Sanjana.
Now let me list out few of the key features of Indian Constitution. Our Indian Constitution is the lengthiest constitution drawn from various sources and also a federal system with unitary bias, parliamentary form of government, integrated and independent judiciary, universal adult franchise, secularism and single citizenship. Now let me tell you what are they. Federal system with unitary bias. India has a federal system, but with more tilt towards the unitary system of government, it is sometimes considered as quasi-federal system because it has the features of both federal and unitary system. Elements of federalism was introduced into the Indian Constitution by the Government of India Act of 1990, which separated the powers between the provincial legislature and the centre. Does anyone know what is federalism? Or does anyone heard the term federalism? Fine, let me tell you. Federalism refers to the existence of more than one level of government in the country. In India, we have 3-tier government: central government, state government, and the local self-government. Now let me tell you about the parliamentary form of government. As we all know that India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic country. So, which follows the parliamentary form of government, which is also known as Westminster model of government, cabinet government, or responsible government. People of India have a direct role in electing their representatives, and irrespective of his or her social background, they can contest in elections. And the elected representatives are directly accountable to the people. And this form of government is more prevalent in Canada, Japan, British, India, and so many other countries. Now let me tell you about the independent and integrated judiciary. Indian Constitution has established an independent judiciary, which means that neither legislature nor executive can intrude in its domain. And this has been done to ensure the judicial independence. An integrated judiciary refers to the structure of the integrated judiciary refers to the integrated structure of the Indian judiciary with the Supreme Court at the top and the State High Court below it. Does anyone heard universal adult franchise? How many of you heard the term universal adult franchise? Fine, but do you know about it? Alright, so let me tell you more detail about it. Universal adult franchise. One person, one vote is the mechanism upon which, is the foundation upon which our Indian democracy is based. So elections are open to all Indian citizens who are 18 years above, irrespective of caste, gender, religion, status or color. The mechanism of universal adult franchise set forth in Indian Constitution establishes political equality in India. And in some countries like Argentina, Brazil, Cuba and Austria, citizens of these countries have right to vote in 16 years above, in 16 years. So how many of you know that? How many of you are aware about this before itself? Great. Now let me tell you about the secularism. Indian Constitution upholds a secular government. As a result, it does not support a specific religion or promote any religion as a state religion. Our Indian Constitution exemplifies secularism, which is the practice of treating all religions equally and providing equal opportunities for all of them. And the last and final one is single citizenship. That if in the case in USA, citizens of federal state have dual citizenships, but whereas in India, citizens have only one citizenship, regardless of where they were born or where they will currently reside. He or she may be the resident of constituent states like Jharkhand, Uttarakhand or Chhattisgarh, but they are not the citizens of that particular state. Instead, they are the citizens of India. All Indian citizens have equal access to employment opportunities throughout the nation and to all of Indian rights. Finally, the correlation between the Constitution of India and that of its key features explained to the brain in terms of discussing why it is important for the country and government along with the citizens.
We got to know about the key features of the Indian Constitution. Now let us know about the importance of articles and schedules.
The Constitution of India is the longest constitution in the world. Set of articles covers important parts of the Constitution including legislative, executive, schedules and fundamental rights and so on. Articles also talks about the duties of three main parts of the government: executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch, and also talks about the separate of power among the federal and state government. It had 395 articles in 22 schedule and it had 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedule at the time of its commencement. Today, India has 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedule and 105 amendments. Can anyone say one article? So let me tell. Article 15, Right to Equality. Every citizen in India have a right to equality and no citizen in India have a right to discriminate other citizens on the basis of caste, gender and race. Article 14, Equality before law. Article 17, Untouchability. Article 22, Protection against arrest and detention in some cases.
Excuse me, Sabhadra, sorry to interrupt you. Can you brief what is arbitrary arrest?
Arbitrary arrest is nothing but when a person is arrested by the police, he should be submitted in the court within 24 hours or in the case of holiday, he should be submitted after the holiday. It was a good question. Now let me continue with my topic. Some of the schedules of Indian Constitution are Schedule 7. It deals with three main legislative lists: concurrent list, state list and union list. Can anyone say how many languages are there in Indian Constitution? 1652 languages, in which 18 are tribal languages. And Schedule 8, it says that it deals with 22 official languages recognized by Indian Constitution.
Okay, so articles cover important parts of the Constitution. Now let us know about the rights, duties of Indian Constitution.
Harmony of a country is not only dependent on its achievements, but also on its citizens. For this, citizens must know their fundamental rights and follow the fundamental duties. First of all, what are fundamental rights? The Constitution offers all citizens, individually and collectively, some basic freedoms. These are guaranteed in the form of 7 broad categories. They are right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, cultural and educational rights, right to freedom of religion, right to constitutional remedies, and right to property.
Sorry to interrupt, Sritej. Can you brief about the legally fundamental right, that is the right to property?
Sure, Pragya. Right to property, which means everyone has a right to own a property alone as well as in association with others. Since this right created a lot of problem in the way of attaining the goal of socialism and equitable distribution of wealth, this right was removed from the fundamental rights in the year 1978 according to 44th Constitutional Amendment and was added in the legal rights. Next, what are the significance of these fundamental rights? These rights apply to a man as protection against his will and expressions. These rights help to lay down a stone for social justice and equality amongst the citizens. Furthermore, it helps to strengthen the secular nature of the country. Next, the fundamental duties. The fundamental duties are the moral obligations of all citizens to help promote a spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of the country. This duty is set out in Part 4A of the Constitution. Significance of these duties. They remind Indian citizens of their duty towards the nation, society, and the fellow citizens. They warn citizens against anti-national and anti-social activities. They inspire and promote a sense of discipline and commitment among them.
Sorry for interrupting, Sritej. What is the necessity of the fundamental duties?
Necessity of fundamental duties. For the growth of a democratic country like India, it is important that all the fundamental duties are followed by the citizens while respecting the integrity and promoting the cultural harmony in the country. Disadvantages of fundamental rights. The fundamental rights listed in the Constitution have some restrictions, which means they are not absolute and depend on conditions of national security, public influence, and the relations with other countries. Disadvantages of fundamental duties. The fundamental duties are not precisely defined. Their ambiguity and vagueness confirm citizens what they are supposed to do. Most significantly, they are merely moral postulates and do not have any justiciability. As the citizens of the nation, we have a right to enjoy the fundamental rights and follow the fundamental duties. Thank you.
So fundamental duties remind Indian citizens of their duty towards society, fellow citizens and the nation. Now let us know about the directive principles of the state policies.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am here to speak about Directive Principles of State Policy. So what is it? Directive Principles of State Policy are a set of guidelines for the government. These guidelines must be kept in mind while formulating new laws and policies for the citizens. They are the instrument of instructions which are enumerated in the Government of Act 1935. They seek to establish the social and economic justice for the people and establish India as a welfare state. So, where does this come from? The makers of the Constitution have borrowed this concept from the Irish Constitution, including in the Part 4 of the Constitution along with Articles 36 to 51, and was termed as the novel feature of the Constitution by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And again, these are divided into 3 types, known as socialist principles, Gandhian principles, liberal intellectual principles. Now let's come into the depth of this. Socialist principles. These principles aim to provide the economic and social justice and India as a welfare state. Gandhian principles. These principles are based upon the Gandhian ideology used to represent the program of reconstructing the Guardian during the national movement. Liberal and intellectual principles. These principles reflect into ideology of liberalism, meaning right to individual liberty, political equality and equality before the laws.
Sorry for the interruption, Kartika. Can you specify some articles?
Sure, Doctor. Article 39A. Promote equal justice and free legal aid for the poor. Article 41. In case of disabilities, sickness, old age or unemployment, they have secured for the citizens right to work, education and right to public assistance. And Article 21, which speaks about right to life. Article 17, untouchability. Article 46, promotes economic and educational interest for the SCs and STs and other weaker sections in the society. I hope you got your answers.
Yes, continue.
I would like to say that the purpose of all these articles is to show the importance of directive principles of state policies, even though they are not to be neglected just because of their injustibility.
Can any of you guess the population of India?
140 crores.
Yes, approximately 140 crores. So to run such a big nation with this huge population, the power must be divided into different levels so that decisions could be made for that particular area. Now let us know about the levels of the government.
As we know that our country is very vast and controlling it is not very easy. So our country follows a federal form of government in which the powers are distributed among central government, state government and local self-government. Local self-government operates at the local or town level. State governments operate on a state level and the central government takes care of the central issues. Government possesses the authority to make laws and carry them out. Let us start with the central government. The Republic of India's executive branch is known as the Government of India. Although the phrase is used to refer the executive branch, the national constitution refers to the central government as the federal executive, legislative and judicial authority. Although the president holds the highest authority and is known as the head of the state, the prime minister serves as the in charge of the government. The second level of government is state government. The state executive is covered under Article 153 to 167 of Part 6 in Constitution. The arm of the government in charge of upholding the state laws is known as the state government. Some contemporary countries like Australia, USA and India use state governments to handle the local issues. The third level is the local self-government. Local self-government is the administration of local affairs by the local bodies elected by the local populace. Both rural and urban areas are included in local self-government. Panchayats are local governments in rural areas and municipalities are local governments in urban areas. Panchayats. In India, a system of rural self-governance known as Panchayati Raj Institution (PRI) is used. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which was passed in 1992, gave PRI the constitutional status in order to promote democracy at the rural level. And it gave responsibility for the panchayats to promote democracy and national rural development. Municipalities. The creation of urban local municipalities was done in order to decentralize democracy. Municipal corporations, municipalities, notified area committees, town area committees, cantonment boards, townships, port trusts, special purpose agencies are the 8 different types of urban municipal governments in India.
Sorry to interrupt Gautam, but what are the powers of different levels of government?
Yeah. In spite of that, our constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers among central and state governments. It consists of 3 lists. Firstly, the union list includes the subjects of central importance such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communication, currency, etc. The central government alone can make laws relating to the subjects mentioned in this list. The second is a state list, which includes the subjects related to state importance and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation. The third is a concurrent list, which includes subjects like forests, trade unions, marriage, adoption and succession. Both union as well as the state government can make laws relating to the subjects mentioned in this list. Because of this existence of these different levels of government, the government is able to fulfill the needs of every citizen in the country, and it became helpful to the government to execute laws. Thank you.
Now let us know about the organs of the government because they act as a bridge between the government and the people.
A very good afternoon to Dean Ma'am, Principal Sir, and to all the teachers and my dear friends. So for a very long time, people believe that power must reside in one person or a group of people at one location. But these notions have changed due to the emergence of democracy. In modern democracies, the power sharing is done through various forms. One of those forms is through organs of the government. By keeping the peace and upholding the laws made by the government, it is the nature of these institutions to work as a bridge between the people and the government. In order for a democracy to function effectively, it is the responsibility of these organs to effectively create and carry out laws. Democracy is unified and stable when these organs effectively work together with harmony with each other. So, what powers do these organs exercise? First, let's talk about the legislature. The primary duty of legislature is to create rules and regulations for which all the citizens of the country must abide by. It also passes laws and examines the resolutions and arbitrations further. So does anyone know what is the power exercised by executive? Anyone?
Yes, Preetham. Implementation of laws.
Yeah, correct. So the primary duty of executive, it ensures that it implements the laws and also enforces the will of the government. The executive comprises of the Prime Minister, President, Governor, Chief Minister and Council of Ministers at the union and state level, and also the administration responsible for the enforcing of the laws made by the legislature. The third is judiciary. Judiciary ensures that the populace receives justice and it also interprets the laws and also takes care of all the laws and regulations. And Supreme Court is placed at the top of the judiciary and community courts placed at the bottom.
Sorry to interrupt, Preetham, but may I know which organ is powerful among the three organs?
Yeah, a very good question, Sanjana. Most of the people have doubt that which organ is powerful among the three. But the thing is, government has distributed equal amount of power to these organs. So, and these organs are interdependent with each other. So, in a government, all this power exercise equal amount of power, and each is essential and unique. So, I hope you have understood the answer, Sanjana, and I hope I have given a good information about the organs of the government.
That was a detailed explanation about the organs of the government. As a citizen of India, it is our prime duty to know what is in our constitution as it is the supreme law of our country. Now here we are at the end of our panel discussion. I would like to thank our school management, Dean Ma'am, Principal Sir, AO Sir, Social Science Department for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I would also like to thank teachers, non-teaching staff and my friends for patiently listening. I hope you all got to know about our Indian Constitution. Thank you.